Well, St. Andrews, I'm here with the Talbots. They are in Arizona, where they work on an Apache reservation there. It has been our honor to be able to support them in ways throughout the past few years. And now we get to actually hear from them a little bit. And so we're going to take a few minutes and learn a little bit more about their ministry. And so as to begin, let me ask you guys to give a little bit of a history of your ministry. How did you wind up ministering at an Apache reservation? Tell us how God has brought you there.
Well, about 35 years ago, we were working with the youth ministry at Phil Lyman's church in Pennsylvania. And, we were looking as a youth ministry for somewhere we could get involved. And through a complicated series of circumstances, we ended up getting pointed towards South Dakota. We got that started off at a little church out in the middle of nowhere on the Pine Ridge Reservation. And Susan was actually of the two of us, the first one to go out. I wasn't honestly really excited at that point, to go away for 2 weeks, but Susan went out and I don't know whether it changed her life, but it kind of turned it upside down. The people we met were wonderful people, but living out their lives in terrible circumstances. And so we, I guess, spent 12 years taking youth ministry teams out to this little tiny Episcopal church on the Pine Ridge Reservation, running vacation Bible schools. And then we ended up transitioning to North Dakota, to a tiny little Episcopal church out in the middle of nowhere. And again, took teams of teenagers and college students out there. We also did some special events out there during, holiday breaks and whatnot. From there, we ended up at the Zuni Reservation in New Mexico, through some contacts I had made years before. And we were there for a few years, and the people we were working with said, "Hey, there's a little church down in the Apache reservation, of San Carlos. Would you folks like to take your group, plus some Zuni teenagers? We'd been discipling Zuni teenagers while we were in Zuni, down there and help out a little church that, his organization planted." So it's been 35 years, and we fell in love with the people. We were humbled and broken by the circumstances that they lived in, amazed by the faith of people who were dealing with all the things that they had to deal with, and began praying decades ago that the Lord would give us an opportunity to minister full time on a reservation.
Mm-hmm.
And he was also teaching us patience, because it was 30 plus years before he answered that prayer. And our church, our Anglican church in
Texas.
Midland, Texas, saw just what a heart we had for this ministry. And they said, if you want to do this full time, we will help you get started.
Mm.
So in July of 2020, we ended up coming down to the Apache reservation right in the middle of COVID.
Yeah.
Great timing. Um, and got this ministry started off. And a cool thing was, one of the pastors out here, who runs a cowboy church. He's a former rodeo guy and runs some of the tribe's cattle business. He said that since he had met us years before, he had been praying that God would open a door for us to come out here and minister to the kids and teenagers.
Mm.
And so we had people praying out here that we would come. And that's how we ended up here.
We don't actually live on the reservation because only tribal members are allowed to live there, but we live at the next town over, which is about 8 to 10 miles away.
Mm-hmm.
So we're very close, but not actually on site there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for many people, when you hear that, oh, you're in Arizona, it's hard to imagine that you're really ministering in a different cultural context, because that's the same country I live in, right? Um, Maybe tell us a little bit about ministering at San Carlos and how the difficulties of it, what it looks like, what are you doing, and how does that, how is that, yeah, um, how is it different in many ways from what we who also live in the States would experience as we worship and serve God and in our ministry context?
Well, we're dealing with a group of people who have suffered greatly over the years since they were herded onto the reservation back in the 1870s. San Carlos was a reservation that was put together to hold the least cooperative and most hostile Apache groups.
Hmm.
And they took all these people and they threw them together in a place that had very few resources. The soil was poor, the water was alkaline, you couldn't drink it. And, for the past, 150 years, they have been surviving. We have a friend, Lisa, this tough Apache chick, and she said, they sent us here to die, but we fooled them. We're still here. There are a lot of challenges. It's a fertile mission field, but a lot of obstacles have to be overcome. The majority of the Apaches on this reservation, to one extent or another, still follow the traditional Apache religious beliefs.
Mhm.
So there is resistance. As I mentioned, there are 12 to 15 small Pentecostal churches out here. There's
Mhm.
a Catholic mission and a Lutheran mission, and as with most reservations, the Mormons are here. But unfortunately, they're focused on revivals and things like that. There's not much evangelism that goes on here. Um, and it's a place where it's desperately needed. Unemployment on this reservation among adults is about 70%.
Hmm.
Alcoholism is well over 50%. Over 50% of the people here live below the poverty line. Um, all of the A lot of the diseases that have been pretty much eradicated in other parts of the country are epidemic here. Diabetes, heart disease, cancer, are just, I won't say they run rampant, but, we know. So we've attended more funerals here in the last 4 years than we probably did in the 20 years prior to that.
Hmm.
Um, and it's tough. These folks are, again, resistant. They have no reason to like the U.S. government. They have no reason to like non-Apaches. They don't like the other tribes around them at all because they used to prey on them. The Apaches were raiders. So if you needed something, you went over to the Zuni Pueblo, attacked that, ran off all their sheep, and took whatever you could. That's how they survived.
And memories are very long here, both uh, from tribe to tribe and also tribe to US government. They were not actually recognized and allowed to vote until the 1930s. So, yes, they're American citizens, but their experience has been very different than our experience has been.
Yeah, they aren't receptive to outsiders. I mean, a lot of our ministry is involved in building relationships with these people, with families, and particularly with children, teenagers, and parents. That's really our focus.
And earning the right to be heard.
Earning the right to be heard. At a lot of gatherings on this reservation, we will be the only non-natives there. We went to a birthday party last Friday, and we were the only non-natives. We're the only non-natives who were in the two churches where we worship.
Mhm.
And at most community events, some of the big celebrations that they do. Once again, we stand out in the crowd, and it's a matter of, as Susan says, earning the right to be a part of this community and earning the right to be heard, and to a great extent, earning the right to be able to evangelize out here.
Yeah.
So, it's a struggle, but it's an incredibly fertile mission field. The Apaches A lot of their wounds are self-inflicted. They tend to elect really bad people to the tribal council. Uh, they, again, the Apaches would tell you, well, we drink or do drugs to forget how much we've suffered. But it's mainly a form of recreation.
Mm-hmm.
Sexual abuse, physical abuse are rampant out here.
Arson.
Arson.
Mm-hmm.
People like to set things on fire. I won't go into it. There was a huge fire here back in July that destroyed 70 homes and left 400 people homeless. And it was set by one of the tribal members. We still don't know why. But again, they prey on each other. There's a lot of violence. There's a lot of theft and whatnot. Because again, you have people who don't have anything. And when they want to get something, they look to people who have stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a difficult mission field.
Yeah.
But again, it is an incredibly fertile mission field. Probably, what would you say, 80% of the people on this reservation are unchurched, and have no relationship with Jesus Christ. And
the first night we started our Pathfinders kids meetings, and it's for kids from kindergarten to 8th grade. Tom gathered the kids around and said, how many of you know about Jesus? Yeah. And exactly 2 hands went up.
Wow.
So in a way, it's a little disheartening, but in a way it's great because we can get people started off on the right foot with the right stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we've, when we came out here, people sort of, where are you going to plant a church? Well, in talking to the pastors that we knew out here, they told us, well, if you start a church, all the other churches are going to gang up on you. They're scared to death of losing their sheep. They don't cooperate with each other. Again, they really are so inwardly focused, they don't do any evangelism. And we very quickly figured out kids, teenagers, and parents, thankfully, were the folks who were going to be most receptive. So that's what we emphasize in our ministry, is reaching those groups. And we've had a lot of success with the kids and, success with the teenagers, and, are making inroads with the parents.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we do out here.
Yeah.
But it's a tough place.
Yeah. So a couple of questions.
They're bright spots.
Yeah. A couple of questions. Do you know about roughly how many people live on the reservation? And then 2, you're making inroads with the kids, you're building those relationships, and you mentioned Pathfinders. Tell us maybe some of the things you're doing. I think, Tom, you coach. So what are some of the ways you're going about building those relationships with the Apaches?
Well, the way we, build those relationships is just hanging out with whatever people we can get in contact with.
Mm-hmm.
With the kids, a lot of the parents are desperate to have their kids get involved in something that's wholesome,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's Jesus or basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Basketball is the number one thing on this reservation, followed closely by skateboarding. So we want to get these kids, because they aren't being reached by their church. Again, they don't know who Jesus is. I mean, we have been to funerals, here on this reservation, where, the funeral went on for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and Jesus Christ was not mentioned.
Oh, wow.
It's all about the Holy Spirit. A lot of people on this reservation have one foot in each camp. They may go to church, but they go to the traditional ceremonies.
Mm-hmm.
As well. They're hedging their bets. So we decided, it became apparent to us that if we can get connected with kids who haven't been as tainted by the environment as, the teenagers, honestly, and the adults, we can bring them along. And what we tell the churches is, we're not trying to take your kids away. We're trying to make them stronger in their faith and stronger in their knowledge of the word, so they can put that back into your church.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, we run these Pathfinders meetings, vacation Bible schools, same age group. Also, a lot of times in conjunction with the vacation Bible schools, we run teen nights, or family nights, so that we can go after these other groups. And we try to be seen as much as possible in different events. The 4 districts on the reservation run Christmas parties and other things. And, we go there, we always volunteer to serve. Food is a big thing here. Everything you do must have food because that's the only food a lot of people get. So, yeah, we try to make as many connections with as many different people as possible. Among our friends on the reservation, we count, drug addicts and drunkards and parents who are probably abusive. But we have to go where the doors open up. Okay. And on this reservation, this reservation is about the size of the state of Delaware. Okay. Almost everybody lives down here in the desert on the southern part because that's where all the infrastructure is. Northern part of the reservation is beautiful. It's got trees, it's got grass, it has lakes and whatnot, but there's no infrastructure, so nobody can live up there. It's a place where you go visit for the day and do some fishing or whatever. There are 15,000 roughly tribal members, and about 12,000 of them live on the reservation.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's kind of an idea of the size of the ministry field that we're dealing with.
Yeah. Well, this has been great. It is. I deeply appreciate people who are willing to go to difficult places and dark places and do their best to shed the light of the gospel to those in need. So thank you guys for doing that. Maybe to close, you can share with us how we can be praying for you guys as you minister.
Okay. Well, again, because of my medical stuff, we weren't able to start our meetings for the kindergarten through 8th grade group. But actually, I just got a call this morning, and we've been able to get a facility. The tribal councilman in that area, who's our friend, is going to pay all the fees. We're going to have it every week through the end of May, and then vacation Bible schools are starting
every Tuesday night.
Every Tuesday night. So if we want to pray that, we had a lot of regular kids coming. We want to pray that they come back and they bring their friends and that ministry will grow.
Also, we're up against Little League, so I don't know, pray for rain or whatever so that we can have the kids come to see Jesus instead of play Little League.
Yeah. Sports is something we compete against because the tribe pushes it because it keeps kids out of trouble in theory. It doesn't really work that way. But the Pathfinders meetings for the kids, for the summer VBSs that we've done 2 the last few years. We're hoping we can do more this year. I wouldn't mind taking up the whole summer if we could. Teen ministry, they're a tough group. Being a coach at the high school, I have the opportunity to meet a whole bunch of teenagers, plus administrators, plus teachers, who have all proved to be, real assets in what we're doing. So that ministry, we just started practice yesterday, so that ministry will grow, and so that I'll have open doors to talk to teenagers. I can't put up posters or anything at the high school, but what I can do is talk to the kids who are throwing for me and let me know where I'm coming from and
wear Christian t-shirts. And then the kids ask, well, what's that all about?
Yeah, what's that t-shirt mean?
Yeah.
And
well, I'm glad you asked. Let me tell you, those are 2 big groups. Plus, we want to really start having activities that will help parents be better parents. We've had parents come to us and say, we want to do something different with our kids. We had 2 ladies a couple of years ago at the VBS who said, we don't know how to raise our kids. We grew up in families where mom and dad were alcoholics or drunkards, and they would beat the heck out of each other. And when they got tired of that, they would beat the heck out of us. And they said, we don't want our lives to be like that. We don't want our kids to be like that. but we have nowhere to turn. So these parents would come every day to the VBS and sit up in the bleachers at the gym and just absorb it all.
Yeah.
So we really want to get that ministry up and running. It's going to take a lot of effort, but that is something that needs prayer. And just that more doors will open for us to make more contacts. And I think those are the big things.
And a physical need is it's always very dry in Arizona. We're always teetering on a drought or having a drought or still having a drought. But the last year and a half have been especially dry. And when it's dry like this, we get wildfires, sometimes naturally occurring, sometimes man-made. And it always hurts people. So just prayers that we don't get the wildfires this
like we did
year.
last year.
Yeah, because the one in July was just devastating. The
I mean,
tribe is still coming back from it. The houses still haven't been rebuilt, and
it moves so fast. People were literally running for their lives, running out the back door of their house while the front of their house was on fire.
Yeah.
And it was just devastating, for people. So just that we pray that we are spared that this year.
Yeah. No. Well, we will be praying. We're going to pray after the Sunday when we air this. We'll pray for you guys, and hopefully, the church, we will continue to pray for you guys and stay in touch with you and see how we can help support you and partner with you in the years to come as you do this ministry. So thank you very much for ministering there, and we will continue to pray for you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity. Again, we've over the past 35 years found out how much of a blessing this ministry can be, and we hope other people will be able to share in this blessing. It changes your life, when you get into an environment like this and just see, again, what Jesus saw when he looked around it. So prayer is good.
Thank you. Yes, very good. So, all right. We'll stop.